In a galaxy where hope is but a distant memory, the dark side of the Force has triumphed. Emperor Palpatine, unchallenged and absolute in his power, rules the galaxy with an iron fist. The Jedi Order, once the guardians of peace and justice, is nothing but a whispered legend, eradicated by the Sith's relentless purge. The Empire's shadow stretches across every star system, its reach unending and merciless. The rebellion's final stand takes place on the desolate planet of Jakku. The last remnants of the Rebel Alliance gather for a desperate assault, led by Leia Organa, their indomitable leader. However, their plans are betrayed by a trusted ally, lured by the promises of power and safety. As the Imperial fleet descends upon Jakku, the rebels are overwhelmed. Leia, captured and brought before Darth Vader, is forced to watch as her friends and comrades are systematically destroyed. Vader, now more machine than man and utterly loyal to his master, shows no mercy. Leia's hope dies in her eyes as the rebellion is crushed, the spark of resistance extinguished forever. Luke Skywalker, once the galaxy's last hope, has fallen to the dark side. After his defeat on Cloud City and the loss of his hand, Palpatine twisted Luke's despair and anger into a weapon of darkness. Trained as Darth Sidious's apprentice, Luke becomes Darth Vethus, a Sith Lord feared throughout the galaxy. Luke Skywalker's training is brutal, his mind and body broken and rebuilt to serve the Emperor. Darth Vethus leads the Imperial Inquisition, hunting down the few remaining Force-sensitive individuals and eradicating them without mercy. The galaxy trembles under his shadow, the promise of a new dawn replaced by the eternal night of the Sith. Leia Organa's captivity within the obsidian confines of the Imperial Palace is a fate worse than death. Stripped of her freedom and her friends, she's subjected to a daily barrage of psychological torment designed to break her spirit and bend her will to the dark side. Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, relentless in their cruelty, keep her informed of every rebel capture and execution, each report designed to chip away at the resolve that once made her a light of hope. Leia's cell is a stark, dark chamber, adorned with ancient Sith runes that pulse with a sinister energy. Every night, visions of her fallen comrades haunt her dreams, twisted by Palpatine's dark sorcery. The Emperor visits her often, his malevolent presence suffocating. He speaks to her of the futility of resistance, of the power she could wield, if only she would embrace the dark side. "Your suffering can end," he hisses, his voice a poisonous whisper. "Join us, and you will have the power to avenge your friends, to shape the galaxy as you see fit." But Leia's heart remains resolute, even as her body and mind weaken. Her latent Force sensitivity, a trait that Palpatine values, keeps her connected to the faintest spark of hope, buried deep within her soul. In the shadow of the Emperor's throne, Darth Vethus stands as a testament to the triumph of darkness. Once Luke Skywalker, the Jedi's last hope, he is now a creature of the dark side, molded by Palpatine's brutal training and his own insidious despair. The transformation is complete, his humanity eroded until only the Sith Lord remains. Palpatine, ever the manipulator, decides that Leia's final test will be her brother's ultimate trial. To prove his absolute loyalty, Darth Vethus must either turn his sister to the dark side or end her life. The Emperor relishes the impending confrontation, the dark pleasure of sibling against sibling. In her cell, Leia senses Luke's approach long before he arrives. The bond they share, though twisted by the dark side, remains unbroken. When he finally stands before her, she sees not the brother she once knew, but a shadow of the man he was. "Leia," he says, his voice cold and devoid of the warmth she remembered. "You must join us. Together we can end this suffering." Leia's eyes, filled with a defiant fire, meet his. "I will never join you, Luke. The light will always find a way." The confrontation between Leia and Vethus is the culmination of Palpatine's dark plan. In the heart of the Imperial Palace, surrounded by the oppressive presence of the dark side, the siblings face each other. Leia's resistance only fuels the anger within Darth Vethus, a tempest of conflicting emotions. Palpatine watches with sadistic glee, his power palpable as he manipulates the very fabric of the Force. Stars outside the palace twist and distort, a cosmic display of his omnipotence and mastery of ancient Sith magic. The galaxy itself seems to tremble under his malevolent influence. Prove your loyalty, Lord Vethus, Palpatine commands. Show me that the light holds no sway over you. Darth Vethus ignites his crimson lightsaber, its glow casting an eerie light over Leia's determined face. The battle is swift and brutal, a clash of wills as much as blades. Leia, though untrained, fights with the ferocity of a cornered lioness, her every move driven by the hope she refuses to relinquish. In the end, the outcome is inevitable. Darth Vethus, torn by the remnants of his past and the dark side's grip, strikes Leia down. Her body falls to the ground, but her spirit remains unbroken. Her final words, whispered through bloodied lips, echo in the chamber. There is still hope. Leia's death serves as the final catalyst for Darth Vethus's complete descent into darkness. Any lingering trace of Luke Skywalker is extinguished as he pledges his eternal loyalty to Emperor Palpatine. The galaxy, already smothered by the Empire's rule, descends into an even deeper abyss of despair. Leia's death reverberates through the Force like a death knell, a final shattering of hope that echoes across the galaxy. Darth Vethus stands over her lifeless body, his heart a barren wasteland, the last vestiges of Luke Skywalker obliterated. Palpatine watches with a malevolent smile, savoring the triumph of the dark side. "You have done well, my apprentice," he croons, placing a gnarled hand on Vethus's shoulder. "With your loyalty proven, we shall usher in an era of unparalleled darkness." Vethus bows his head, accepting his fate. He is the Emperor's instrument now, a blade of shadow to be wielded against any who dare resist. The galaxy bends to the Sith's will, and the iron grip of the Empire tightens, choking the last breaths of freedom. Yet, in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, whispers of rebellion still linger. In the lawless territories of the Outer Rim, a glimmer of hope persists. In a rundown cantina on the dusty planet of Tatooine, a group of forgotten rebels gather, their spirits unbroken despite the odds. Han Solo and Chewbacca, believed dead by the Empire, sit at a dimly lit table, their eyes scanning the room for familiar faces. They're joined by a motley crew of smugglers, outlaws, and former rebels, each one a beacon of defiance in a galaxy shrouded in darkness. The cantina was a hive of activity, filled with the hum of conversations and the clinking of glasses. The air was thick with the aroma of exotic spices, and the sound of a mournful tune played on an ancient instrument. Despite the oppressive shadow of the Empire, there was a sense of camaraderie among the patrons, a shared understanding of the struggle that bound them together. Han raised his glass, his voice carrying above the din. "To Leia," he said solemnly, "and to all those who fought and fell for the cause. They may be gone, but their spirit lives on." Chewbacca roared in agreement, his eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and determination. The other rebels raised their glasses in unison, a silent vow to continue the fight, no matter the cost. Over the next few years, Darth Sidious, Vader, and Vethus's reign over the universe went unchallenged. Han and Chewbacca did their utmost to stay one step ahead of the Empire, avoiding capture at every turn. During this time, many covert operations were carried out by the rebels, gathering crucial information. It became apparent that the Sith Lords had grown overconfident, almost drunk on the power they possessed. Despite this newfound intelligence, Han knew that challenging the Sith would be impossible without any Jedi in their ranks. The Empire's grip was ironclad, and the rebels needed a spark of hope, a force to counterbalance the dark power that loomed over the galaxy. Han and Chewbacca, having narrowly eluded capture on an intelligence mission near Crate, swiftly engaged the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive, evading a flotilla of Imperial Star Destroyers. Their perilous journey concluded on the desert planet of Tatooine, where they navigated the dusty streets to the Mos Eisley Cantina, intent on divulging their findings to the gathered rebels regarding the menacing Imperial Armada from which they had narrowly escaped. Han and Chewbacca's entrance into the cantina created a ripple of excitement among the gathered rebels. The smoky, dimly lit room buzzed with the murmur of voices discussing strategies and exchanging vital information. As Han leaned in to share the critical data they had risked their lives to gather, Chewbacca's guttural growls punctuated the conversation, adding gravity to their tale of close calls and near misses with the Imperial fleet. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A cloaked figure, previously unnoticed in the corner, stood up and began to make his way towards the group. His movements were purposeful, his presence commanding attention. The chatter in the cantina died down to a whisper, then to complete silence as the figure approached. With a deliberate motion, he pulled back his hood, revealing the face of a young man with intense eyes that seemed to bore into each rebel present. His expression was one of unwavering determination, a force of will that was palpable. "I am Galen Marek," he announced, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "But you might know me as Starkiller." The name sent a shiver through the room. Whispers of recognition and fear rippled through the crowd. Starkiller was a name synonymous with power and legend, a figure of both awe and dread in the galaxy's turbulent history. Han's eyes narrowed, his hand instinctively moving towards his blaster. Chewbacca growled softly, a note of caution in his tone. The rebels exchanged uneasy glances, unsure whether to trust this unexpected arrival. Galen Marek, Starkiller, stood firm, his gaze steady. "I come with a message and an offer," he continued. "The Empire's power is growing, but so is the resistance against it. I can help you. Together, we can bring down the Empire." The tension in the room was visible as the rebels weighed his words. The stakes were high, and trust was a rare commodity. But in the eyes of Starkiller, they saw a fierce resolve and a glimmer of hope. A hope that perhaps with his aid, they could turn the tide in their favor. Han broke the silence, his voice measured but firm. "All right, Starkiller, let's hear what you have to say. I was trained to be a weapon of the Empire, but I have chosen a different path. I stand with you now." The rebels exchanged glances, a mixture of hope and wariness in their eyes. Han narrows his gaze, studying Starkiller. "Why should we trust you?" he asks, his tone challenging. Starkiller meets his gaze unflinchingly. "Because I know the enemy better than anyone, and because Leia's legacy lives on in all of us. The Force may be shadowed, but it is not extinguished. We will rise, and we will fight." The rebels murmur among themselves, the weight of Starkiller's words sinking in. Han nods slowly, a glimmer of hope returning to his eyes. "Well then," he says with a roguish grin, "let's show the Empire that the light will always find a way."